So on June 6th, 1944, right, the paratroopers started jumping in. There's an interesting fact about all the paratroopers. As we've seen in many movies and we've read in many books, the paratroopers were scattered everywhere, right? The paratroopers were scattered everywhere because a lot of the pilots flying the C-47s flying in were inexperienced, right? This was their first combat jump. Many of them had practiced over and over in England. It was no problem. Nobody was shooting at them. They come into here on June 6th, and now they're getting the anti-flak, right, from the anti-aircraft guns from the Germans. And paratroopers were jumping out at wrong altitudes, at different speeds, different drop zones. However, there is one regiment out of all of the 12,000 airborne troops that actually landed where they were supposed to. And that unit was the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment from the 82nd Airborne Division. And the reason they were accurate was because every aircraft has jump masters on it. And the jump master's responsibility is to look out the door, identify the terrain to make sure they're jumping where they're supposed to. So yesterday, when we were at the 101st Pathfinder one, we read that they counted 7 rows instead of 9. So they ended up actually landing further to the west than they were supposed to, right? So now we get here. So the jump master from the 505th was looking out the door, and he realized that they were not in the right area when they turned the green light on. There's a red and a green light in the airplanes that identify when they're supposed to jump. Now, the reason he knew that was because the 505th Parachute Infantry Regiment jumped into Italy. So they already had experience, right? We've talked about this numerous times on how we were combat hardened when we were in Italy. Here's another example of it. So he looks out, he sees that they're not in the right area, he tells them to turn the green light off, and he waits until he can clearly identify where they're at. Once he identifies where they're at, they turn the green light on, the 505th jumps. The 505th, 98% of the regiment landed exactly where they were supposed to, which was drop zone Oscar, which is behind us here, and that's where they jumped into. So you had the 505th from the 82nd, the 507th from the 82nd, and the 508th from the 82nd that jumped into this area. 505th was to land over here between Lafayette and Sainte-Marie-du-Mont, which we just passed through coming into here, right? The 507th was to jump on the other side of the causeway, and as you look at it right now, the river looks very unassuming, right? It's very small. We could just probably jump over the river. Well, on June 6th, it wasn't that way. These entire fields were flooded from here to about where those buildings are over there that's clogged, right? So, the 505th lands over here, the 507th lands over there. Their objective is Amfreville, which is on the other side of the trees. The 508th also jumps in over there, Colonel Linquist. So the 508th was going to be responsible for that side. The 507th goal was to take the town of Amfreville. The 505th was to secure this side and to take Sainte-Marie-du-Mont, which is just up the road from us. So they jump in, and General Gavin, the second in charge of the 82nd, jumps in as well on that side of the flooded out causeway, as well as Colonel Linquist. He jumps in over there too. They make their way this way. General Gavin grabs about 200 men, makes his way across the flooded area, sees the railroad tracks that we passed coming in, brings 200 men to this side of Fière Bridge, right? At the same time, Lieutenant Dolan, who is with Alpha Company, the 505th, knows where he's at. He comes around the manor, down to this road. There's another lieutenant that comes up this road from the 505th. They encounter machine gun fire right at the bridge. They quickly throw a grenade into there. They stop the machine gun fire. They've almost secured this side of the bridge. At the same time, Lieutenant Colonel Timms from the 507th is on that side of the bridge in Cockatee. They quickly secure that side of the bridge as well, and they have it held over there. So there's a lieutenant, he leaves over there in charge of that group. So we've got this side of the bridge secured initially. We have that side of the bridge kind of secured, right? This is like 8, 9 in the morning. We come around, there's a manor. If you see that house over there, that's a manor over there. And funny enough too is there was absolutely no German troops in that manor until the 5th of June. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows if it's because maybe they got word, they thought maybe we were coming in, no idea. So on the 5th, some paratroopers actually move into that house. So we come around the house, there's some fighting by the house. There's some machine gun fire there. They come up the driveway around 10 in the morning. They think they have the manor secured. About that time, the Germans rush the family out. It's the Rowe family. They rush them out. The paratroopers grab a hold of the family. They put them in one of the outbuildings. The family tells them how many Germans are in the manor, right? So we go in there. At the same time as that, one of the paratroopers comes up the road to the manor as the Germans are waving a white flag out the window, and they shoot the soldier. Well, now the battle continues again, so now the fight's on for the manor. We have already captured a few Germans. Again, the family told us how many were inside. A couple of the paratroopers went inside and shot them from the basement, right? So now we got the manor secured. About 10 o'clock in the morning. We think everything's probably okay. Well, until it wasn't. So the fighting starts. We have that side of the bridge secured. Lieutenant Colonel Timms, who was over there, left about 40 men there. And Lieutenant, there's another lieutenant, his name is pretty long, Schwarzhoff. He was on this side. They go across the causeway to finish securing that side. He runs into the other lieutenant that's holding that side of the bridge, and they think everything's fine. So he leaves 10 people behind. He goes up to meet with Colonel Timms because their objective is the town Amphorville that's on the other side. We haven't secured that yet. So, at the moment, about 10 in the morning, we had both sides of the bridge secured. Everything was fine, right? Until it wasn't. So, then the Germans come up another road, a German counterattack. There's 10 men right here at this little church, securing the church, because at that point we thought everything was fine. So they start shooting at the French tanks that the Germans had. They were French tanks that came down the road. They heard them coming. They shoot at them until they run out of ammunition, and then they have to escape through a little graveyard next to that church over there, back up into the woods by Colonel Timms. So now the Germans have that side of the bridge. We have this side of the bridge. The German tanks come up the causeway. However, we have 2 men with bazookas, and I'll be able to show it to you right here. There's 2 men with bazookas right here. They take out the first 2 tanks on the bridge, right? So the battle stops for a moment. They push a truck onto the bridgehead, right, for additional cover as they're fighting. So they're pushing through on the 6th of June. All this is happening, right? There's many men that are dying here on this bridge on the 6th of June. The battle kind of pauses for a moment until there's 2 more tanks that end up coming up the causeway. 2 more tanks come up the causeway. At this point, we have a few more men on this side of the bridge that are able to take out those other tanks. Now the bridge is clogged with, there's 5 tanks on this bridge. And when I say bridge, I mean causeway, because again, it's very unassuming right now because this was flooded from here to that church there. And there's a little bend in the road, and we'll see it when we go down there. So you couldn't really see. So we have the bridge secure. We're fighting on the 6th. It goes into the 7th. There's a lot of battle happening here. And on the 7th, there's actually a pause in the battle. The Germans actually have a pause. There's a bit of a truce. We clean up from both sides. We remove our wounded, they remove their wounded, and there's kind of a pause in the battle on the 7th. As well on the 7th, the 325th Collider Infantry Regiment, I know there's a lot of units that are coming into this small little area. So they land here, they're able to reinforce. By this time, Utah Beachhead has been secured, right? So this is on the 7th. On the 8th, nothing happens, right? There's kind of a pause in the battle. So we land on the 6th, we secure both sides of the bridge on the 6th. The afternoon of the 6th, the Germans take the other side of the bridge. We fight through the day of the 6th into the 7th. We pause to clean up the wounded. On the 8th, we don't do anything. Come the 9th now, we have tanks coming in from Utah Beach, right, from the 70th Tank Battalion, as well as soldiers coming in from the 4th Infantry Division. Now they're all piling up behind here on this road. So General Gavin, who's the second in charge of the 82nd Airborne Division, knows this. It is time for a frontal attack, right? At the same time, the 325th comes around through the swamps to the backside to try to take their rear flank. However, the Germans see them coming. They fight them off. That's where PFC de Glopper actually earns his Medal of Honor on that side of the bridge, but we'll talk about that when we go over to the church on that side. So again, on the 9th, our frontal assault actually works. We're able to secure some of the equipment off, and now you have 2 general officers that are on this bridge trying to clear equipment. General Gavin's literally on this bridge, right? This is a 1-star general hooking a rope up to one of these trucks to get it pulled off the bridge. People are like, wow, there's a general officer out here getting it done. But he was that type of leader, right? He was leading from the front. So they pull some of the equipment off the bridge. The 70th Tank Battalion is actually able to do the frontal assault, and we finally take Lafayette Bridge. The battle takes us 3 days of fighting. This is considered the deadliest small arms battle in U.S. military history to this date. There was over 300 82nd Airborne soldiers killed taking this one bridge, 525 wounded. Right? So this is the bloodiest small arms battle that the United States military has ever been in. And that's the nutshell of how we took Lafayette Bridge. We can go into a much more in-depth conversation about this, which I have no problem doing, but that's kind of the overview of how we took Lafayette Bridge. So we landed on the 6th, we finally took the bridge by the 9th, right? So this is the 82nd Airborne Division's, I guess, defining moment, right? Because the 82nd Airborne Division had already fought in Italy, but this was the battle right here that every soldier that ever serves with the 82nd Airborne Division knows. They know the Battle of Lafayette Bridge, right? So that's Lafayette Bridge. Any questions?